is barely 2 years to the 2026 elections. FDC Katonga Group is forming another party. Where does this leave FDC?
Well, Katonga faction, if Besigye is going to be their leader, at best what he can do is to give them a platform to win an election as members of parliament, as councillors, as LOC5s, local leadership. But they are aware that it would be a very big task to imagine that you start forming a party 1.5 years to an election and you win an election. And I can tell you, majority of those people who supported Besigye in 2006-2011, a number of them have moved on.
You're saying that Dr. Kizza Besigye left the party in the hands of inexperienced people. What do you mean by that statement?
His quitting of the leadership of FDC in 2016 was a mistake. And I remember telling him that. The reason why you see NRM is steadily growing is because of the leadership. The leadership of President Museveni.
What should he have done? Because you do not want, at the time people were saying that he has overstayed, he has been contesting, he has tried and failed, he should give other people a chance.
In a country where there is no democracy and you want to pretend to create a democracy, that was an error. He needed, as an historical, he needed to have nurtured this party for some time, created institutions that govern the party for some time. His quitting left the party parentless. And that's why you see those who took over the party have messed it up.
The major challenge that I saw, basically as to why you saw the factions come up, or the fault lines, was basically because Dr. Kizza Besigye said they received money from NRM and they did not account for that money. Do you really think that it was the only issue?
He was asking that question, where did the money come from? And all you needed to do was to say, I am sorry. Have you seen the child who has eaten sugar? And sugar is all over his mouth, or her mouth. And you're asking him or her, have you taken sugar? And he's saying, no. No. If you're daddy, you slap that child, then they'll learn how to tell the truth.
What should Besigye have done after knowing that these guys are not accounting, they're not ready to account for the money they receive?
But Besigye thrives on honesty. Once he discovers dishonesty, he will not work with Besigye. I worked with him. I was his political assistant. There were many accusations, and people were not coming forth to confess.
Does FDC as a party practice what it preaches, especially the internal democracies? Let's put it to a litmus stage.
You in the parties do not have democracy. You cannot produce democracy. You can't give what you don't have.
Is there a chance for the Katonga and Najana Nkubi faction to ever reconcile?
They have fought so much, they have demeaned each other, that I think their differences are irreconcilable. They need to move on individually and create different formations. My worry is that that has weakened the party. It has left the party completely, on its knees, and it will not regain that position in the near future because people no longer trust any of those leaders.
In 2012, you say that Dr. Kizza Besigye, Nandala Mafabi, Amoria, they all turned against Mugisha Muntu.
It was obvious.
So do you really think that also could have had an impact?
You see, of Dr. Kizza Besigye, my sister Nyanjura, the Ekanyas, the Mwijuches, Amriat, all united against against Muntu. They accused him of being a Moor. They accused him of all kind of bad things. And I remember him telling them that soon you will know the problem. And six years later, it was obvious that the people who were accusing him were the problem.
Can FDC ever regain its glory?
They have spent 3 years fighting. That in the communities, people are forgetting what is FDC.
You're saying that if you can't give people hope for power, then you have nothing to promise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what should have Besigye done at the time, when he had all the choices to make? Do you really think Dr. Kizza Besigye and his faction, that is the Katonga faction, they still have a chance of capturing power in 2026?
Well, Mr. Museveni will still win. And I can tell you it's a more comfortable win than it has ever been. It's going to be simpler for him to win.
Where does this whole fight leave the Najja Nkumbi faction that still believes they have the mantle of FDC?
Najja Nkumbi has more problems.
Which one?
Because they don't have any ground. I can tell you, we just did one of the polls. And you ask a question, if election were held today, who would you vote? Besigye still is the most popular person within the FDC.
Okay. Dr. Wakida, thank you so much for according us your time.
Thank you, sir.